ready.
Welcome to another episode of Buff in the Rough. Today we'll talk with Mike Snyder about running a squirrel during a timeout at a field trial, comparing competing with Thoroughbreds to competing with Beagles, and a lot more. Help me welcome Mike Snyder to the program. Well, hey Mike, how are you doing?
Buddy, if I was any better, I'd be ashamed of it.
Well, I wanted to thank you again for coming on today. I'm really looking forward to learning more about you, learning more about your hounds, and some of the things that you've gotten yourself into here lately. So I think this is going to be very interesting for folks out there.
Absolutely. I think you doing this, getting the word out there about different formats and giving people an opportunity to listen what's going on around the Beagle world. I think it's a great thing you're doing. I hope this blows up for you, and I just think it's a great thing you got going.
Well, I appreciate it. I really do. Well, Mike, as we get started, for people that don't know who Mike Snyder is, could you maybe tell us a little about yourself and how you got into hunting? You don't have to necessarily limit it to just hunting. If you want to tell us about other things you're into as well, that's fine. Just really whatever you want to tell us about yourself.
Sure, yeah. But like you said, my name is Mike Snyder. First and foremost, I'm a man of God. You know, I'm very strong in my faith, and I was born and raised here in a little town called La Fountain, Indiana. We're right in the middle of between Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Indianapolis, Indiana, off of I-69 here. Quiet little town. I was raised on a farm all my life. Raised working on a dairy farm, and still do that to this day. I actually live on my parents' farm here. We bought that off of them in 2019. So actually, I'm raising my kids in the same house I was raised in. And, just growing up, we had all this acreage and we had four-wheelers, coon dogs. That's what got me started in the hounds was the coon dogs. And I never really deer hunted or anything like that with the dairy. You just didn't have time to go deer hunting and do that kind of thing, and at nighttime was the perfect time to get out, and always had a love for the sound of a hound, a crisp fall night, and it's just something that is in my blood. I've loved it from the first time I ever went, and obviously my dad got me started in the coon dogs, and we really didn't do a whole lot of competition hunting or anything like that. We were just pretty much pleasure hunters, and coons were worth quite a bit of money back when I was a kid. So yeah, that's what got me the start in it. And having a family, I've got 3 daughters and a son, and a lovely wife, Tiffany. Which anybody who's in this game and goes around and travels around all the competition hunts, it definitely takes a special woman to allow this to happen. I mean, when in the wintertime, we usually try to get some other state twice a month. Yeah, it takes a special woman to stay home and take care of the kids and be okay with all that. And I sure do appreciate all she does. But yeah, right, I'd say around 16 years old, me and my buddies all started, venturing off by ourselves and going coon hunting, and that's just what we did. I mean,
Well, Mike, what kind of coon hounds did you have?
We had mostly. I started out with a black and tan female. A guy gave me this dog, and I hunted that dog every night from November 8th until January 31st, and she never treated a coon. And if that's not a love for the sport to keep going, most people would quit. But I was too dumb not to. So. Started out with her, and then I got another black and tan male that would treat a coon every once in a while, and then my first real coon dog I bought for $125. A guy found her, one of my good friends, Jeremy Jones, found him, and I bought that dog for $125, and probably the best coon dog I ever owned. He was stone cold silent, and I mean, I'd hate to know how much money we got out of coon hides out of that dog. And just had a blast with him. Right around that good friend of mine. We had a dog named Jada. She was out on Mike Nelson's Girly Dog and Oil Can Bandit, some Thoroughbred stuff. And she was an absolute pleasure to have around too. Just a neat dog. Wasn't the wild, crazy, go yonder, get by themselves dogs like they've got today. She just went in, did her job, and just made it look easy, you know.
As much as I like to hear them run, and I love to hear these Beagles just keep the track open and just get in there and just really make a racket. I tell you, with those old coonhounds we had back in the day, the quieter they were, it seemed like we treat a lot of coons with those guys, and they didn't miss very often. They just, I don't know if that's related or not. If they kind of were sneakier, they'd sneak up on the coons or what, because they didn't hear them coming. Them in there roaring and barking every time they took a step. But those quiet hounds, those nearly silent or semi-silent or silent hounds that just would fall treed, seem to be deadly on the coon population.
Oh yeah,
that's interesting.
They were almost snipers. They'd head around that coma dog. We didn't have tracking collars back then, but you could see he'd skirt the edge of those woods and just bam, he'd fall tree, you know. And a silent dog's going to sneak up on him and just fall tree. But, you know, with everything that had, you know, conspired, you know, I obviously got married and started having kids, and the coon hunting just didn't work. And I tried the squirrel hunting for a little bit, and I had a couple beagles around, and I'm going to tell you, I started out with some pretty rough ones. I mean, they were not much to write home about. They were everybody's hand-me-downs is what they were. And I figured out pretty quick that you couldn't have squirrel dogs and rabbit dogs and make it happen, you know, and hunt them the way they should be hunted. So I kind of went away from the squirrel dogs and really got into the beagles hot and heavy. So that's really what started it all. So.
Well, I tell you, I still think that coon hunting is a young man's sport in so many ways. It's very demanding on you physically and on your time, and certainly it's at night. So as you get older, it just seems to be a little tougher. That alarm clock has no mercy on you when it goes off when it's time to go to work, and that just seems to get tougher with age and with the family and kids and things and other demands on your life. It seems like beagling is a little easier for a family man, anyway. But
absolutely.
Well, as you were getting into this thing, and we're going to talk about your favorite hounds and stuff in a little bit, but who have been some of the more influential people that really helped you get those first hounds, really helped you figure out what in the world that you were doing, and are kind of those go-to people for you?
Yeah, well, obviously my dad, he taught me so much about hounds. He's no longer living. We lost him almost a year ago, so he was a big influence to me. My Uncle Bill, my dad's brother, he was big into hounds. He had all different types of hounds, so just listening to his stories and things like that was a big influence. There's a man that took us hunting all the time. His name was Junior Jones. And anybody from around here knows Junior. He would pack 4 and 5 and 6 of us boys in a 1980s extended cab S10 pickup truck. And I mean, it was a show. And he was a huge influence on me. You know, all my buddies, the Jones boys, Justin Jones and Jason Jones and Jeremy Jones and Jaron Jones. We all did a lot of hunting together. Starting out on the Beagles, I mean, guys like Bill Boggs and he's an old time, you know, rabbit hunter around here. He gave me a few hounds. Randy Miller, he gave me a couple hounds he actually gave me a couple pretty nice hounds to get started with. And, you know, just coming up through it and going to the competition hunts and things like that. You know, one guy that really sticks out to me that's a big influence is a guy named Billy Ray Parrish out of Princeton, Kentucky. Just the way he handles himself, he's always packing heat. I just have a ton of respect for that guy. That's a guy you want to model yourself after, you know. He just doesn't. He's never in the middle of any controversy. He doesn't say a whole lot. He does everything by the book. I mean, I just got a ton of respect for him. And Jerry Mahoney, another good friend of mine, you tell him what a dog's out of, and he can tell you clear back to where that dog started from, the bloodlines and everything. He's been awesome to have around. Just any kind of question you have about a dog, he's usually got a pretty good answer for it. Super smart guy when it comes to these hounds. And I can't go without mentioning Kurt Simpkins either. I mean, he's one of my good friends that he's one of those guys that comes up with a plan on a dog or a pair of dogs, and he sticks to it. And he always comes out smelling like roses with these dogs, He's got a pair of Satsuma pups right now. They're probably a year and a half old, maybe knocking on the back door at 2 years old. And these two dogs have never seen anything but them by themselves or each other. Mm-hmm. And you talk about some rabbit dogs. They slow down when they need to. They speed up when they can. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the way he's brought them up, the way he's hunted them. He's been a big inspiration to me on getting in these towns and doing it the right way. And, it does say, an inspirational person, the definition of that is a person whose actions and or opinions significantly impacts the course of your life. And there's one man that made a post on Facebook, and we do not see eye to eye. We've been into it. We've had our battles and everything else, but he made a comment on Facebook one time and said, you talk about God and talk about how much of a Christian you are, and then behind the scenes you drink like a fish. And he was right. And the man's name's Bo Mahaney, and from that day forward, it's been a little over a year now, and he made that comment, and I have not touched a drop of alcohol since. And, I wouldn't invite Bo to my barbecue, but that's a person that influenced me in a positive way. So I got to give him credit where credit's due. I mean, that's the real reason why I quit drinking. I mean, he brought that to my attention when nobody else had the kahunas to say it, So,
hey, Mike, the Lord works in mysterious ways, right?
He sure does.
Well, that's quite a list. I mean, that's a big time list. Now, it sounds like you had a pretty challenging start when you started with your coonhounds, with the one that wouldn't tree, and then one that would tree every once in a while, and then maybe with the squirrel dogs and beagles had some challenges early on. But I know you've been successful, and I know you have some big time hounds that you've campaigned over the years. What are some of those hounds? What are some of your favorite hounds? And could you maybe just tell us a little about their story?
Yeah, so like I said, the Coma dog, I really didn't competition hunt that much in the coonhound world. I mean, we go to local hunts and stuff like that, but I was into so many other things. By the time I was in my 20s, there was no way I could have campaigned a dog the way I do with the Beagles. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the Coma dog, he was just automatic, and the Jada dog, we killed a ton of coons with her. My friends, the Jones boys that I hunted with all the time, they had a dog named Trooper that sticks out in my mind. I'm not sure how he was bred, but he was a get deep and alone. Back before getting deep and alone was cool. Mm-hmm. He was. Mm-hmm. You turn him loose, he was getting treed somewhere. It could be 10 degrees out, and he'd find somewhere to get treed and usually be right.
Man, and those dogs will freeze you to death.
Oh, man, he was pretty quick about it, but I think, through my favorite dog that I had, he probably wasn't the best, but he was a half cur. It was an accidental breeding, which accidental breedings have been very good to me through the years. He got bred to a dog named What's Up Spot, which was out of What's Up Doc, and a cur female, and we brought him up and tried to squirrel hunt him, and he kept treeing coons. in the late evenings, he'd tree coons.
Mm.
So we started coon hunting him, and he was the fastest. He was so fast sometimes he'd beat the coon to the tree, but that dog would not let you get cold feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he was probably the funnest dog that I raised, coon dog wise. Mm-hmm. And another female guy I knew, Roger Reese was his name, gave me a beagle once I got into the Beagles, named Shiloh, and I think she taught me more about beagles than anybody has.
Oh, yeah.
She was just a good old just rabbit dog, and I bred her to a dog out of Billy Ray Parrish's stuff. His name was Max, and it was a pup out of Max and Shiloh. I bred those two together and got this litter of 4-year-old dogs that I have right now. Muck and Willow the Wabbit dog is what her name is. So Willow's probably 12 and a half inches tall, and she weighs 12 and a half pounds. I mean, she's a tiny little beagle, but
wow.
Yeah, she does not make mistakes. She gets points and she keeps them, and she's not particular my style of dog, but there's a pretty good story behind her. Very good friend of mine, Nate Gage. I travel all over the country with him. He called one day and said, "Hey, I want a couple beagles to hunt." I said, "Well, I got it." So I sent him Shiloh and Willow over there. Willow been running loose here on this farm. She was about 1.5 years old, and she'd never been pinned up. And she was out here in these fields teaching herself how to run, Mm-hmm. And I had Muck, her litter mate, with her, and they just ran out here loose all the time. And I ended up putting Muck up because he was doing pretty good. He had a lot more foot than she did, and probably a little better jump dog than she was at the time. And so he took these two dogs over to his house, and he said, "Mike, this little Willow dog is amazing." And, I didn't pay much attention to him. I was just like, yeah, whatever. She's too little to do anything. And he brought her to her first hunt over there. I didn't even have her named, And, he came up with Willow the Wabbit dog, because it's Wabbit season. So one of the guys that was there, Joe Brown, I'm sure a lot of the Beaglers know that name, and he came up to me. He said, "Mike, why would you let him hunt a dog like that? I mean, she is tiny, tiny." And he said, "Why would you let him run a dog like that?" Mm-hmm. That's almost embarrassing. I was like, "Well, he wants to hunt her, so let him." They came back, and Joe slapped that scorecard on the table. He said, "That is hands down the funnest cast I've ever been on." He said, That little dog is amazing. I mean, they scored 812 and I tied at 812 and a half points that day. And to go from there, I think I kept letting Nate hunt her, and it's just as much Nate's dog as it is mine in my book. Mm-hmm. And he takes her to his house. She stays here. It's hard telling where she's going to be at, but I think he's been in seven major event finals with her over the last 3 years.
Wow, that's pretty strong. That's stout.
Yep. She's done a good job. She got third in the world in 2022, I believe. I believe it was 22. Yeah, she got third in the world in the PKC world in 22.
Not bad for a little 12-inch dog. That's pretty.
Yeah, she gets in there and bumps and grinds with them now.
Well, since you've been out and about, I know you've run across some dogs that caught your eye, that you thought were pretty good dogs. What are a couple of the dogs that you've seen that really impressed you?
Oh, there's a bunch of them, but that sticks out a dog named Jack, Will Marshall, and Reagan Wilson on him. I mean, he's what you look for in a dog. The way he hunts, the way he straddles that track, and the speed that he's got. He's one of those dogs that can control his speed. And usually when Jack goes out, Jack's coming back a winner. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic hound there, and I believe he's 8 years old now, and he was still dominating last year. There's a young lady up here that's got a dog named Ren. Izzy Note is her name. And she's a senior in high school this year, and I mean, this kid wins everything in UKC. I don't know if you've ever heard of her or not.
I have.
That dog there she is for real. She just won the Crossroad Classic Youth Hunt this weekend up at La Fountain. So, that's a phenomenal dog. I gotta give a shout out to Hooch. Hoochie Coochie's his name. Addison Phillips and Chad Phillips running. When that dog is on, he's unbeatable. Quick story about him. I hunted him. They were on a cruise, and we had the World Hunt up here at a local club, and I took him out, and he scored 875 in that cast, and high scoring dog too that day, and he was flawless that day. So when that dog's on, he's unbeatable. Big Al, Billy Ray Parrish and Nick Hurt own him now. That dog's won everything under the sun. He won the ABC World Hunt last year. Phenomenal dog. I mean, just big mouth, big dog. He's probably 15 3/4 inches tall, and he's got one eye. He just looks like he's been through battle. He's just an awesome dog. And I think probably my favorite dog out there right now that I've seen go is a dog named Slim Shady that Brad Moncrief owns. He's a part of Show Me Kennels, guys out in Missouri. He's a picture to look at. He's a beautiful dog, black blanket back, tricolored dog. And I've seen that. I drew him at the World Hunt, the ABC World Hunt last year, and that's the first dog that I've ever watched go and never heard. There wasn't a dog drew a bark in that whole cast. And I like that dog just by the way he moved. I mean, he was here, there, and gone. That dog stayed busy on high for 1 hour straight. I mean, he never, if there was a rabbit to be found, he would have found it. Greg White's girl dog, I mean, she's my style. She's a little compact thing. And I'm not particularly fond of blue dogs, but she's a blue dog, and she does a lot of women. And Nate Terry hunts her. So those are the ones right now that I think are.
Well, that's quite a list. But if I made you narrow it down to like a cast of, let's say, 4 dogs that you would like to see, dead or alive. I mean, these could be dogs from the past as well. What would be your top 4 dogs? I'm assuming you might put your Wabbit dog in there, but you might not. But what 4 dogs would you like to see go?
Boy. Well, living male dogs. Let's just start with that. I'd like to see a cast of Slim Shady, Jack, Big Al, and I got to throw a local dog in there, Muck or Hooch. One of those 2 dogs go at it. That would be a phenomenal cast. That's a lot of dog power right there.
Who's going to win it? If you had to handicap it,
I'd have to go with Shady.
Okay.
I've never seen the dog do anything wrong. And I've hunted with him a handful of times, and every time I've just been wowed. Female wise, I think I'd have to go. Bob Bratton's got a dog. What is her name? Bugs. Yeah, Bugs. Bugs is that dog's name. I'd like to see her. A little red tick female, Lance Croy owns, named Alley Cat. The Izzy Notes Wren dog. Greg White's. This is going to be a 5-dog cast here.
Okay.
Greg White's girl dog and Willow the Wabbit dog. I'd love to see that cast of females go.
Who's going to win that?
Ooh, I kind of lean towards the Wabbit dog because she stays here at the place. If those casts really happen, it would be hard hard to pick one.
It'd be nice to have that cast
Good
and promote it and sell tickets for admission. People would probably pay to see some of these dogs go.
I would definitely pay to watch that. I'd love to judge that cast right there.
Well, talk us through some of your most memorable moments, because I know you like the competition hunt, but have you had some big wins, tough losses? I don't know, just and we can even, a lot of times I ask people, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen while you're out hunting? Maybe it's all together in one question, but what's been some good memories for you?
Well, just traveling around with my buddies, Nate and Jathan Jones. Jathan Jones hunts the muck dog in the hunts, and just traveling around with those guys. I mean, you come home, your stomach hurts from just laughing and cutting up and carrying on. It's just unforgettable memories with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're some of my best friends that I just do life with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest part of the competition hunting and going out with all the guys, all the members of ABC and everything. It's just times that I'll never forget. But
mm-hmm.
Some of the most memorable hunt was the Princeton, Kentucky pro hunt. I believe there was 46 dogs in that hunt. Jathan with Muck won it, and then Nate and Willow, they got second. So that was hands down. I mean, after that hunt was over, I called my wife on the phone, and I was an emotional wreck. That was something that I've strived for since I've been in it. And I've taken these pups from being born and winning a hunt like that against some of the hounds that were down there. It was just, I will never forget that as long as I live. That was just a great day. And, talking about the craziest thing that ever happened in the hunt, probably happened in that hunt. The dogs were broke down. They had the 3 on them, and the 3 caught them. And right when he said, Bob Bratton was the judge in that cast, right when he said, the 3's up, handle your dogs, Muck opened up and started driving the track.
Mm.
Well, what it was that gray squirrel that came across the lane about a minute before that. And Jathan was trying to plead his case to, let's, that was close enough. Give him the check. Bob said, nope, time's up. Handle your dogs. And that dog came across on that squirrel. Just hammered down on him. And Jathan was pretty happy that that was in timeout. They couldn't scratch him. They couldn't scratch him for it. So, and tough losses. Tough losses come all the time. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I've learned in this is you can't look back and say what ifs.
Right.
You'll what if yourself to death of what happens in a hunt. What happens. I
mm-hmm.
think going out there, letting the best dog win, being honest is the thing to do. And you just can't look at the past and say, well, if this would have happened, then this would have happened. It didn't. So just let it go and move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Talking about getting ready for some of these hunts, do you do anything special for your hounds when you're getting them ready for a big hunt?
It just depends on the hound. We've got some really big hunts coming up here. We got several pro hunts. We got, I guess, 2 pro hunts coming up here pretty quick before harvest starts. And, just for instance, Willow, I hunted her. She hunted in a youth hunt this weekend, got 3rd net with a young man hunting her. And she ran 3 casts that day. And then I took them out yesterday morning before church, ran them, 5-6 miles. And then we did the same thing yesterday evening. And then I'll take them back out again tonight. I might do a little bit with her tomorrow, and then she'll be laid up. Mm-hmm. And now her litter mate is the complete opposite. I will hammer down on him. I will actually take him out the morning before the hunt and let him run a little bit. He's high maintenance, It just depends on the dog what you're gonna do, And I raced thoroughbred racehorses for about 6 years there in my mid-20s, and I try to kind of do the same thing that I did with the racehorses.
Mm-hmm.
We would have those horses to where they barely wanted to walk out of their stall a week before the race, and slowly built them back up. And trying to peak an animal that can't tell you how they're feeling is a very hard thing to do. But getting those dogs peaked at the morning of that hunt is obviously the thing that I strive to do. I don't, very rarely do I hit it, I guess, but it's just, each dog is different,
I get that a lot. About everybody I talk to says the same thing. It depends on the dog. Well, talking about the dog, could you tell us a little bit about the part of Indiana you're in? Like, what are the hunting conditions there? What does it look like? Could you describe that a little bit for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where we're at in Indiana, it's pretty flat. A lot of ag fields, a lot of patch woods, but what we have here is a state ground, Mississinawa Reservoir and the Salamone Reservoir. They're about 10 minutes apart. And my property actually butts up to the Mississinawa Reservoir. So as what it is, the Mississinawa Reservoir is about 17,000 acres of state ground. And maybe 2,500 of that is the lake, and the rest of it is all managed wildlife habitat. And they have strip fields. We call them strip fields up here. And they're about 120 foot wide, the strip fields. And then there's probably a 60-foot just briars and shrub bushes and things like that are grown in between these strips for wildlife, obviously. And the farmers who rent that ground have to leave a percentage of the crop for the animals to eat. So we've got a habitat that, I believe, for me anyway, which I know where to go to hunt here, but I honestly haven't been. Alabama's probably the closest thing to as good as running as we've got here, and it's so many acres. Like I'm saying, 17,000 acres here on the Mississinawa, and I believe the Salamone's a little bit smaller. I'm going to say right around 15,000 with maybe a 2,000 acre lake on it, and it's the same deal over there with the strip fields. So in 2015, the reservoirs flooded, and it completely covered all of this ground, the state ground, and it killed a lot of the big trees, and all that underbrush has came up, and it's been great for the rabbit habitat. It's been great for every habitat. People think that, big open, wide open woods that you can walk through are the best habitat for animals. That's just not true. It's the undergrowth, the cover that brings these populations up of animals, and it's blown up. It's been great hunting since 2015.
I gotta tell you, I'm super jealous, and I imagine everybody that's listening outside of Indiana and the 17,000 acres of managed land is probably pretty jealous too. Do you take casts there to hunt?
Oh, absolutely. That's
what kind of scores are you getting out of there?
Oh, like I said, and I do a lot of guiding, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I take a cast out. We're coming back with 600 plus. World Hunt 2 years ago up here. Every single cast that I took out was over 800 points except for one, and that was pretty much a goose egg. I don't know what happened on that cast, but
now, Mike, how long were the casts? Are they hour-long casts, hour and a half, 2 hours? How long are they?
1 hour cast.
1 hour cast, 600 points to 800 more.
Because you've got to strip every 60 foot that rabbit runs through, And if you know how the rabbits run, you can get in position and just sit there and score and score and score.
So
if the rabbit cooperates.
So if you could build the perfect beagle for you for that type of hunting, What would they look like? What would they sound like? What would they hunt like?
I like a tricolor dog. Mainly dark colored tricolor dog. I like the solid blanket back dogs. I just like the look of them. That has nothing to do with how they hunt or whatever. But I'd like especially in this area, I'd like a dog that does not open up until the rabbit's up.
Mm-hmm.
And hunt wise, I want to turn that dog loose. I don't want to see it again until it comes across with a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bird dog style hunt. And I love a dog that just barks every breath on a track. When it's got a nose full of scent, I want him barking every breath.
Mm-hmm.
Big chop mouth dog is what I like. Something you can hear from a distance. That would be my perfect dog.
That sounds pretty perfect to me too. I mean, that sounds like a really, really good hound.
Yep.
So you mentioned, I don't even know why I'm going to ask you this question, but normally I ask people, what are some of your favorite parts of the country, or do you have a favorite part of the country to hunt in? I don't know why you would ever leave your house, in that area to hunt. That sounds pretty dreamy, but you did mention Alabama. But in addition to maybe, are there other parts of the country, as you like to travel around with your buddies, are there other parts of the country that you enjoy as much or pretty close to what you enjoy there at your house? And are there clubs that you have that you visit that you think are really good and you'd recommend people go to a hunt there?
Yeah, I can tie this into out in Missouri. I forget what town it is. It'd be northeast Missouri. Brad Moncrief has a club there called Extreme Beagle Club, and we went out there to a 2-day pro hunt out there. I believe it was February, March, might have been March. We went out there and we pull up to this place, and it's a whitetail outfitter. Brad runs a whitetail outfitter,
Mm-hmm.
and we go into this place. It's a huge house. It's got all kinds of bedrooms, a great big kitchen, beautiful living area, like a living room, hangout, had a bar in it, had a downstairs that we kept our boots in a locker. I made an entry that first morning, eating a homemade cinnamon roll, filling out an entry slip in my pajamas and hay dudes. I thought that was a fun weekend. We had a great time there. It got bitter cold out there, but we had good running, and he's got a ton of ground out there. That's a great club to go to. And I mentioned Alabama. They put on those. That's what those guys do down there. I mean, year round, they're having hunts. You walk in there, they have a great breakfast. They have good running grounds. It's usually fairly warm down there in the middle of winter. The only thing about Alabama, I do not like snakes, so I don't head down there. Once snakes are out, I'm out. But we've had some great times there. Kentucky boys, they put on great hunts. Everywhere I've been's been great, and our local clubs. Matt McCorkle runs our local club over here, Wabash Ridge Coon Hunters Club. He started doing ABC hunts close to a year ago. He started in, and Matt is awesome at what he does. That guy knows how to run a hunt. Everything's very professional. And if he puts a hunt on a schedule, it does not matter what's going on. He does not cancel a hunt. Weather, nothing. He will not cancel a hunt, and I appreciate that. Doesn't matter if other registries come in and schedule hunts. He keeps his hunts.
Mm-hmm.
And Indy Houndsman Club over here, that's in Marion, Indiana. It's a great big Isaac Walton League is what it is, and they rent that off of the Isaac Walton, and it's a great big building. Great building to have major events in, and they do a great job of having hunts. And Chad Phillips the hunt. Chad and Addison are the hunt directors for ABC over there, and they do a great job of having hunts. So very blessed to have these two clubs right here in my backyard. There's usually a hunt every weekend, and usually one every other week during weekdays. So,
well, you point out some really good clubs, and certainly, folks, I hope if you're listening out there, you'll look up some of these clubs in your area if you hadn't already. One thing that I noticed about you, Mike, just doing some homework on you, I know you've hunted many different registries. You mentioned going to hunt at a youth event maybe this past weekend that I think was a UKC, United Kennel Club event.
mm-hmm.
But I also know you mentioned ABC several times. I just had on the president of the American Beagle Club. I was just interested in it kind of personally. I've been hearing a little about it, and I know there's some interest in where I live, North Carolina, particularly maybe in the eastern part of the state. But is that something you're involved in? I know you are, but could you tell us a little bit about it from your perspective? What is the American Beagle Club? Maybe your role in it, and why should hunters take a look at it?
Sure. So I'm the Indiana State representative for ABC, and my responsibility is just making sure these two clubs, they're pretty close, make sure they're not, scheduling hunts on the same days. And something I kind of took on was promoting the ABC on Facebook, social media, Facebook, Instagram, just really promoting these. I mean, a lot of our posts that we put out there, if you're on a Beagle page on Facebook and you've never heard of ABC, you're probably not looking very hard,
Okay.
I probably shoved it down people's throats more than I should have, but Greg started this thing from scratch,
mm-hmm.
and Greg's knowledge of how a registry is supposed to be run is just, it's second to none. He does an excellent job. He did an excellent job getting us started. He did a good job bringing in, other investors. Me and Greg worked pretty closely together, bringing in all our sponsors. Some of our bigger sponsors is, Value Pack Specialty Feeds, which is Value Pack dog food.
Mm-hmm.
They're a great sponsor to have. Diamond Deluxe dog boxes. They're donating boxes to some hunts. They're a great one to have. Dogtra has come on, and they're providing some systems to give out at the bigger events, and we're hoping that Dogtra sees where this thing's going and kind of comes in a little stronger here in the next year or two, and providing us with some financial and prize packages assistance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the real reason, not only just Greg and Danny and Mark, the real reason why I promote it the way I do is because I believe in it. I've been to way too many hunts that, there's a lot of squirrely stuff going on, a lot of misconduct kind of things. And Greg and Mark and Danny, they're not putting up with it. If somebody is causing a problem, they're going to be asked to step away,
mm-hmm.
and people know that. And really, we haven't had any big blow-ups or anything like that, and guys, when you're out on a cast, you're doing what you can to get your dog in the winner's circle,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I do get it, but there's a difference between debating and arguing. There's let the best dog win. Let's that's what we're really striving for in ABC, is to make this to where I feel comfortable. A guy like me feels comfortable bringing my 10-year-old and 7-year-old daughter to the hunts and not worrying about,
mm-hmm.
all the bad stuff that hunts are known for.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit more, and for folks out there, maybe that's something you want to check out in your area. It sounds like Mike's all over social media, so I'm sure you can find it if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, just a couple other questions, but what advice would you give, or do you have any advice that you would give to people that are out there considering getting into rabbit hunting, and not necessarily competition hunting, but just rabbit hunting, period. What kind of advice would you give to somebody thinking about it?
Well, this is pretty fresh in my mind. Just be patient. Every dog that you get's not going to be the best. The dogs that I have here now, they're not the best. They've got holes. The guys that are winning everything right now, every dog has his day. Just be patient. It doesn't all come together at once. It takes a long time to get a pack of hounds together that you really like and you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And if a guy says, well, I know everything there is to know, there isn't a man alive that knows everything.
That's the truth.
There's always something to learn. Bill Boggs, an old guy that runs Beagles around here. I was so frustrated when I first got started. I was like, man, these dogs are horrible. What's going on, blah, blah, blah. And he said, just be patient. Mm-hmm. He said, just keep hunting the dogs and thinning out the ones that, just keep doing what you're doing and just be patient. And he was right, Mm-hmm. And I'm going to continue being patient. And that's what I would advise anyone else to do, is just be patient.
That's great advice. Very, very good advice. Well, is there anything I didn't ask you about that I should have, or do you have anything else you want to talk about or promote?
Yeah, well, we've with ABC, we do have some major events coming up, which two of the pro hunts that are around here, they're already filled. So next weekend we have we wanted a 16 dog hunt, but only 12 spots filled. So we're going to go ahead and have it's a $300 entry, and that's at Wabash Ridge Coon Hunters Club. And so that just this upcoming weekend, we've got Indy Houndsman's going to have a Friday night hunt, $60 entry. And Wabash Ridge on Saturday morning is going to have a $60 entry open hunt. And then on Sunday, Wabash Ridge is having the 12 dog pro hunt, $300 entry. So that's going to be a pretty good payout. And then on September 8th, this hunt is also filled, but it's a 20 dog pro hunt at Indy Houndsman here in Marion, Indiana. That filled up real quick. That's a $100 entry. And we've also coming up, we've got Greg White's going to have a big hunt over Labor Day weekend, which that's going to be an open hunt. So I'll have to look at the flyer, but the dog that wins, I think I don't want to say, I honestly haven't even looked at it, but he's having that 3-day hunt, and it's a Labor Day weekend jamboree. So $300 added money going to the dog with the most cast wins in the 3 hunts. And that, just something coming up that mm-hmm. would be fun to do. That's in Moulton, Alabama. And like I said, that's Labor Day weekend. And then the big thing we've got coming up is a 4-wheeler hunt. That will be October 25th and 26th. And that will be at Clay County Fairgrounds in Salina, Tennessee. And first place gets the Polaris. I think it's a big 4-wheel drive Polaris 4-wheeler. Second place is going to take home $2,000. Third place is going to take home $1,000. And then there's 9 cast winners that are going to get their entry fee back. Mm-hmm. So that's the big one we've got coming up here in October. And the Hound of the Year race is going on right now, and it's heating up. There's some dogs. I think Blitz is Billy Ray Parrish and Nick Hertz. No, that dog was sold. I'm sorry. That's Smoky Bone Kennels now. Mm-hmm. He's in the lead. And, I believe he's right at just over $2,000 on. Those are just club hunts for the Hound of the Year race. So it's got to be a must-split hunt, a $60 or a $30 entry. And the winner of that gets $3,000, a Diamond Deluxe dog box, and then the opposite sex gets $1,500 and a Dogtra Pathfinder 2 system. So if a male wins it, the female will get the $1,500, and Dog Trip Pathfinder 2 system. So it's something that's, these clubs are just, we're having 10 to 12 hunts in 5-6 different states every week. You know, it's blown up. And this, you know, you got to think this registry has only been open since January 1st of 2024, and it's already came this far. If you would have told me that would have happened, you know, in 2023, when we were just messing around holding these hunts and, you know, none of the dogs were registered or anything, I probably would have called you a liar. But Greg's done a great job getting this thing started. And, you know, it's brand new. You know, there's going to be some holes in, like, the internet, the website and things like that we're still trying to get figured out. But like I said before, it's a thing of patience. I mean,
That's right.
Greg and his staff is doing everything they possibly can and they're doing a great job of it. I mean, the flood of memberships, dog registries, everything that he keeps track of. I mean, this is a full-time job for that man.
Well, Mike, if people wanted to learn more or kind of schedule a time to come to one of these hunts, and maybe if they're not hunting it, just to check it out, what's a good place for them to find information?
Okay, American Beagle Club has its own webpage, and all the hunts, the dates and the addresses are on the website. You can go to Facebook and find out about anything. I will post, which I haven't done yet today. I'm glad you mentioned that. I post every week what hunts are going on around the country. You know, I'll put where it's at, the deadline, how much the entry fee is, and obviously the date. And that's on the Facebook page. And between Facebook and the website, you can find out about any information that you want to find out. And all our numbers are on the web page as well. I'm definitely open to people calling and talking about this. I love talking about the American Beagle Club because it is something that I believe in. I believe this is going to be the registry to be a part of.
Very good.
In the future.
Very good. Well, Mike, I can't thank you enough again for taking time out to share your history, the history of you, the history of your hounds, and to talk a little bit more about the American Beagle Club. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, Sam, I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to Buff in the Rough, and remember to like and subscribe if you want to be notified when we have new content available. And please send comments and suggestions to buffintherough@gmail.com.